Before I explain anything, look at this. Look at the density. Look at the scalp visibility. Look at the pattern shift. This is not just lighting. This is not hair fibers, and this is not artificial temporary thickening. This is biological correction. And let me just say that as a research scientist, I do not say that lightly. For years, I was a licensed cosmetologist, over a decade hands-on behind the chair. I saw thinning edges, crown widening, diffuse shedding, and breakage misdiagnosed as different forms of hair loss that may never heal. So people try oils, do-it-yourself hacks, protective styles, supplements, and all of these different stimulating hair treatments made by a new celebrity every other week. And you know what happened? In the process, all that happened was hair loss. It progressed. So I stepped back, not emotionally, but scientifically. I really needed to understand what makes hair loss permanent. Because let me tell you something. If you can understand permanence, you can interrupt it. If I can understand what makes it permanent and irreversible, I can reverse it. So let's get into the biological reason that most people do not understand. The thing that people have to understand is hair loss is not cosmetic, it's ecological. Hair grows in an ecosystem. This gut ecosystem includes mineral status, gut absorption, circulation, the inflammatory load of the body, hormonal signaling, and one of my obsessions, scalp microbiome balance. Pay attention. But you want to know something? When that ecosystem becomes depleted or imbalanced for long periods of time, the follicle adapts, and that adaptation leads to things that you don't like. Like, of course, a shortened hair growth cycle, thinning strands, miniaturization, which is when your hair's follicle gets smaller and shrinks, as well as dormancy. Dormancy is when there's no hair, really anything living within the hair's follicle. That is not random. This is patterned biology. Let me break it down. Because I need you to understand that patterns, if repeated, can become permanent, like permanent hair loss. So what does verdant actually mean? So I know it's a long name, but verdant means green, living, thriving, fertile, and most importantly, capable of sustaining life. That is what the word verdant means. Verdant is not just healthy. Verdant is biologically capable of regeneration. This is the key. If soil is not verdant, plants cannot thrive. If the body and the scalp are not verdant, the hair cannot thrive. So I created the Verdant Code, not as a hack, not as a product line, and not as a routine, but as a code. This is not a hack or a routine, but a structured biological framework, the Verdant Code. So let's break down the system. Phase 1, restore. Before any type of growth, you have to restore the terrain. This includes correcting mineral depletion, supporting iron and oxygen transport, reducing systematic inflammation, and increasing your nutrient absorption. Remember, hair is a non-essential tissue, so your body will sacrifice it to save other parts of the body that need more assistance. It's not essential. Your body will sacrifice your hair under stress. So restore tells the body that it's okay to allocate resources to the rest of the body, especially the hair again. Phase 2 is balance. The scalp is a living tissue, so balance includes the following: proper sebum regulation, the microbiome on your scalp being balanced, removing occlusive buildup, so all of the different things that can block the follicles and the pores on your scalp, circulation optimization on your scalp, and also eliminating inflammatory pathways, stopping things that cause inflammation signals in the first place, because remember, the follicle is invisible to your immune system until you do something that makes it an inflammatory pathway. Grease and heavy product, they end up restricting oxygen flow to the hair's follicles and pores, along with the hair shaft. It blocks the cuticles. And chronic tension ends up reducing the blood flow to the actual hair follicle. But you know what happens in phase 2? When you get balanced, it resets and reopens this environment. One that was clogged and restricted, passages that were blocked and slowed down or shut off are reactivated. Which leads us to phase 3, activate. My favorite part about the Verdant Code is this activation is done without forcing anything. Most brands really start here. I don't start at the activation phase. Activation supports a sustainable density throughout your hair, throughout your whole head. Follicle signaling that makes sure everything is being done properly, meaning you'll have normalized hair growth cycles and nothing will be off track. But this is only after stability is restored. You can't do this on a scalp that isn't stable, that's overrun, that's imbalanced. Why? Stimulation without creation, stimulation without correction creates dependence. Because you never correct the problem, you always need the problem, because the manifestation is going to always happen because the cause never changes. Phase 4 is lock-in and recovery. Now this is the difference. Well, a lot of things are the difference, but this is the big difference. Don't get mad at me, but if you must constantly restart, your pattern and the problem that led to the manifestation was never corrected in the first place if you constantly restart and doing big chop after big chop. Lock-in stabilizes your hair growth cycle, your hair growth cycle's length, because the average hair growth cycle should be 7 years. This will lock it in to those 7 years. The proof is in the pudding. You'll be retaining that length. The miniaturization will be reversed, so the follicle diameter will widen, and you'll notice that your hair's density will change. It will begin to get fuller and fuller because the diameter of that follicle is expanding and you can fit more than one strand up per pore. That's the thing. And most importantly, we'll also normalize shedding, because again, proof is in the pudding. Look, as you can see, I have multiple gurus who used to shed wildly, but the shedding is stabilized through the Verdant Code, because this reversal supports the early stages of miniaturization being reversed. Remember, these are the early stages of miniaturization. I'm all about prevention, and if we catch it in enough time, if we catch it soon enough, as you can see from the people on the screen, I can reverse it. I can get things trucking. So let's talk about why I can say this with extreme confidence. I did not build this from trends on TikTok or any weird marketing claim or buzzword. I learned this from over a decade of real life hands-on pattern recognition, real world pattern recognition and observation, deep research studies in biological systems, herbal formulation studies, and long-term case studies of the human scalp and the human follicle for over 2,000 people. And one of the most important factors, consistent photographic documentation before, during, and after phases of multiple men and women. So now I have visible proof. Not temporary hair growth that's here today and gone tomorrow, but long-term and permanent density change. This is structural density. It's not a fluff. So why did I rebuild the website? I had to rebuild everything because this is not a cluster of just random products. This is a system. When you do go to the new site, you're going to see restore, balance, lock in, and recovery. Everything fits into this structure. I can promise you no chaos, no gimmicks, and no miracle oil or product promises. The only thing that builds true permanence of your healthy hair and your length retention is a strong structural foundation. So really quick, Cancer gang, this is the emotional layer. My heart is in this because I've watched women lose their edges and their confidence, sometimes overnight. I've watched men's hairlines recede and young people panicking and experiencing these things way too early. For some people, hair is not vanity. For some people, it's confidence, it's identity. For some people, it's lineage. For me, it's cute and short and in a pixie. If you correct the patterns early, balding does not have to be permanent and generational. You can change it. From the bottom of my heart, this matters so much to me. So do me a favor and look at some of the proof again. This is not hype. This is environment correction. If you're tired of restarting, if you're tired of stimulating and simulating all of these different cycles and hacks, if you're ready for structure, go study the Verdant Code. Go head over to my website and go study the Verdant Code, not emotionally, but scientifically. Because when the environment of your scalp becomes verdant, growth remembers its place.